Yes, welcome all to the webinar of clinical trials and IEC. Yes, I'm Dr. Raghu from Samruddhi Allied Educators. I'm the founder and CEO. And yes, we'll be starting this webinar uh, within 1 or 2 minutes. Yes, today's class will be dealt with by Dr. Narasimha, who is an associate professor in one of the medical college, that is Siddhartha Medical College, Tumkur. He has presented many papers, journals all over India in many conferences and all, and has won many prizes also. So he'll be the best teacher for this topic. And this is the small introduction for Dr. Narasimha. Ajay also has taken one of the topic, therapeutic drug monitoring. Guys, is my voice audible? Type yes in your chat box. Okay, fine. Okay, thank you. So I'll be handovering the session to Dr. Narasimha. Yes, Dr. Narasimha, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Raghu. Myself, Dr. Narasimha Murthy, as already mentioned by Dr. Raghu. And once again, I thank the Samruddhi Elite Educator for giving an opportunity for second talk. First was therapeutic drug concentration and target concentration intervention. So in this session, I am going to give presentation on clinical trials regarding new updates and also the role of institutional ethics committee in handling these clinical trials or BA or BE study. Okay, so with this introduction, I'm going to start my presentation. Raghu sir, is this presentation or PPT first slide is visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Yes,
Yes,
okay.
guys, it's visible, right? Yes.
Okay,
Oh,
so this presentation outline is as follows. That is
one
based.
second, one second, one second. Sir.
Yes, yes.
Any queries, anything, you can just put in the chat box. And meanwhile, question and answer session will be in the last. Will be answered all your questions. So any issues can be put in the chat box. Thank you. Over
Yes,
to you.
yes. Thank you, Raghu sir, for your this one. So the presentation as follows. It includes introduction and clinical research, drug development phases, and you already know that the phases before clinical trials, that is pre-phase one activities. Once the drug enters into the human subjects, how it will go from one to one phase, that is phases of clinical trials. For these, we need some regulatory approvals like IND and NDA. And recently, in the year 2019, 19th March, they introduced the new drugs and clinical trial rules. After that, Institutional Ethics Committee, basic ethical principles, and specific ethical issues in clinical research. What is the composition of ethics committee? What are the responsibilities of ethics committee members? And finally, the summary and conclusion. So, so I will start with the first slide of my presentation. You already know that how these clinical trials were
Please make
developed.
it a slideshow, Dr. Narasimha.
Yes, sir. And you already know that how these clinical trials are developed because of the James Lind. He was a pioneer of these clinical trials. Okay, he discovered one of the important condition, vitamin C causes scurvy, that is small hemorrhages occurs. Okay, and they have given for vitamin C rich fruits or foods, and it cures all these small hemorrhages, splinter hemorrhages or rash occur in the human body. And after that, he had coined the term clinical trials. So he is the main pioneer of these clinical trials. So these are the type of designs in clinical research. Okay, because the development of a drug, it includes laboratory and also in the preclinical studies. It is nothing but animal studies, And even in clinical research, in clinical research, these clinical trials are the type of designs of clinical research. Here we are going to investigate systematically in human subjects. Okay. So these clinical trials, they test the potential treatments in healthy humans or patients with target disease. What is the main purpose? Whether the product should be studied further or product should be approval for wider use in the general population. Ultimately, whatever we discover or identify the new drug or IND, investigational new drug, which is going to use in public for population. But before that, we have to do some studies in animals. And after that, healthy volunteers, later with patients with target diseases, and after approval, then only it will come to the market. What is the main purpose of these clinical trials? Will evaluate the safety and efficacy of any new drug or investigational product. So these are the set of tests in medical research and drug development process. They are mainly evaluate the safety and efficacy data about the new molecule for health interventions. Either it is used for the treatment or diagnostic purpose. So coming to the clinical trials, these are an interventional study. Okay. Here we are going to use humans as study subject. Okay. Why? To test the safety and efficacy of efficacy of an investigational product, because we don't know whether the new drug is produces maximum effect with safety is very important, because that some of the drugs they produces maximum effect, but because of their severe mortality or toxicity, okay, those drugs are not safe in human beings, because we should not harm the patient. This is one of the ethical principles in medical professional. Okay, that is, and it allows researcher to control the intervention and allocation of study subject. Okay. So here, for identifying this new drug or molecule, it has undergoes so many trial phases. One has to produce or invest some amount or something for the development of these clinical trials or any new drug for the market purpose, finally for the use in population. Here, drug developers are a sponsor. They have to submit an IND application before starting any clinical trial in human beings, because we are going to use these drugs or a new drug or investigation new product in humans. So they have to submit the IND application, that is investigational new drug application, before starting clinical trial to the regulatory authority. You know, US FDA is the main regulatory authority worldwide, but in our country, that is called CDSCO, Central Drug Standard Control Organization. Okay, this is the central licensing authority, that is called CLA. Before submitting an IND application, the sponsor have to collect enough data about this new drug in preclinical studies, nothing but animal studies. It is regulated by CPCSA. You already know that regulatory authority for preclinical studies is called CPCSA, Committee for the Purpose of Control of Experiments on Animals. According to these rules and recommendations, they have to get the permission for conducting these studies in animal, and ensure that this investigational new drug can be tested in humans, because it doesn't produces any severe toxicity which produces mortality or a death in humans. After this only, they have to submit the IND application for regulatory authority FDA, in our country CDSCO. So head for the CDSCO is DCGI, that is Drug Controller General of India, and this comes under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. So You already know that. So once the drug which passes the preclinical studies, it will enter into the clinical trials. That is a type of clinical research. These are the type of designs. So before starting phase 1, we have to do the phase 0. That is nothing but micro dosing study. Okay, here this is exploratory investigation new drug studies, nothing but pre-phase 1 trial or proof of concept trial. What is the main focus here? It is mainly focused on identifying the viable investigational product, what we are getting from the preclinical studies. This product, okay, whether it is viable and eliminating the ineffective ones from that. But here it does not focus on therapeutic value of investigation product. In this phase, it does not focus on the treatment part, how it produces the efficacy and what is the percentage of safety. No, only is identifying the viable investigational product. So what is the main objective of this phase 0? Why we have to do directly from preclinical studies, we can enter into the phase 1? No. What are the some of the important objective? It ensure whether the investigation product will work as expected or not in the human body. One, and very minute amount of this drug, approximately 1/100 of the small dose of this drug, which is going to administered in very smaller group of participant, approximately 20 to 30 maximum, in very short period, maybe for 1 week. So from this study we will get, okay, whether it is acceptable or it is going to produce expected efficacy or pharmacological effect in the humans. So here less than 1/100th of the dose of a test substance calculated to produce the pharmacological effect with a maximum dose of less than 100 microgram. That is the dose we are going to use in the phase 0 studies called micro dosing study. What are the advantages of this study? Yes, it is, there is a less chances of adverse effects. It is a short duration, so we should not wait for months and all. Less number of volunteers, only 10 to 20, and reduced cost of development, reduced drug development time, because phase 1 it will take several months, phase 2 or 6 months to 2 years, like that. Here we some of the, it gives the confidence to the researcher or investigator. Yes, we can we can move further from phase 0, from this to phase 1. So it will give the some amount of confidence to the researcher. That is the one important advantages of this phase 0, that is called micro dosing studies. What are the limitations? Definitely we are not using in a large population, only few healthy participants, and mainly on pharmacokinetic parameters like how it will absorb, distribute, and metabolism, and even elimination, not efficacy and safety based. And because some of the agents having different pharmacokinetic characteristics, between microdose and full dose are not evaluated by phase 0 trials. That is one of the disadvantage and limitation. And limited use for agents having non-linear pharmacokinetics, thus undergoes zero order kinetics. Okay, in this condition we are not able to identify the proper pharmacokinetic parameters in phase 0, and for assessing and all these laboratory parameters are very limited, and even they are expensive, and researchers have to depend on bioavailability and bioequivalence labs. So these are the some of the limitations. So ultimately, finally, it gives some amount of confidence to the researcher and less chances of rare adverse effects, and duration is very short. So after this, we will enter into the phase 1, that is first in humans. Already phase 0, but here it will be conducted in 20 to 100 healthy volunteers. Okay, in some exception, like some of the drugs we are going to produce severe toxicity. Where, what are the type of drugs? Anti-cancer drugs, immunosuppressants, okay, anti-HIV, all these drugs, they produce a severe toxicity in healthy volunteers. Because of that, when you are going to do clinical trial or drug development process related to those, we are taking the patients with target diseases. Otherwise, they will produce a severe toxicity in healthy volunteers. They more than risk compared to benefit. So it will take several months for completion. What we are going to assess here? Assess the safety profile of the investigational product in human body, and it determines pharmacodynamic as well as pharmacokinetics of compound, and here assesses tolerability. That is, what is the side effects or what is these drug produces adverse effects in these healthy volunteers. So here approximately 70% of the drug move to the next phase. So here single ascending dose, small group of subjects are given in a single dose of the drug while they are observed and tested for a period of time. If no adverse effect, dose is escalated with 3 new healthy subjects. If toxicity is observed, then 3 more subjects are given the same dose. If found toxic, the dose is considered as maximum tolerated dose, that is nothing but MTD. And MAD conducted to understand the PK and PD of multiple doses of the drug. A group of patients receives multiple doses of the drug, and samples are collected at various time points to assess what is the plasma concentration of the drug at this level. And here we can analyze how this drug is processed within the body, because absorption, distribution, they are essential in drug development process, and they are the one of the pharmacokinetic parameters. Phase 2. So phase 1 is human pharmacology and safety. In the phase 2, it is therapeutic exploration and dose ranging. It explores the efficacy and side effect of the experimental product, means further determines the dosage range. Yes, when we are giving this drug, we have to keep this dose from this dose to this dose. It helpful to determine the dosage range with maximum benefits and minimum risk for the human body. So here, so approximately more than 200 to 500, and several months will take to complete. Up to 5 years it will go. So from here, approximately 33% of the drug move to the next phase, that is called phase 3. So phase 3, therapeutic confirmation or comparison. It will gather more information about safety and efficacy of the product, because we are giving this drug in wider range of patients with target diseases. It will up to go to 1,000. It determines the dose response relationship, investigate the rare side effect. That is very important, because in phase 1 and phase 2, the limitation is the number of participants is very less. But the drug does not produce very side effects. When you are giving to the larger population, it may produce very rare side effects. And it provides information about risk-benefit balance of the investigational product. And this is considered as multi-site trial. This trial should not conduct at one place. It should be conducted simultaneously at different places. Remember, phase 3 is called multi-site trial. So for this, it takes minimum 3 to 5 years. So from here, approximately 25 to 30% of these investigational product move to the next phase. So here, before going to the phase 4, the manufacturer or a sponsor should submit NDA. What is this NDA? New drug application to the regulatory authority. And we have completed phase 0, 1, 2, 3. Now, we have to move to the 4th phase, that is phase 4, that is called post-marketing surveillance. So here, the regulatory authority, it will receive the new drug application form. So this is nothing but request from manufacturer to the authority. Why? For approving the investigation product for manufacturing. And after assessing all the documents from preclinical studies, phase 0, 1, 2, 3 by the regulatory authority, and based on the data, they will approve the candidate product to the market. So this is nothing but phase 4, that is post-marketing surveillance. So what are the limitations of the clinical trial in the phase 0, 1, 2, 3? Okay, here we are using wider population, various population. Okay, so thousands of patients are using this newly launched product. Here, it will continue the collection of information about safety and efficacy of the newly launched product. It collects additional information, identifies the very rare adverse effect. Suppose, is there any dose recommendation? It redefines the dosing recommendation. Yes, the whatever the dose range we have come across in the previous phases, oh, it is not acceptable. In this range, we are getting this rare adverse effect. So in this case, redefine the dosing recommendation and risk-benefit relationship in various population. Here, number of participants is in thousands. That is phase 4. So this is drug review steps, preclinical test, animal studies, according to the guidelines from CPCSA. After that, investigation, new drug application, it will enter to the phase 0, micro doses, 1 by 100. Phase 1 studies, mainly safety and efficacy. Phase 2, that is therapeutic exploration and dose ranging. Phase 3 studies, confirmation and comparison. After that, the manufacturer or the sponsor will submit the new drug application to the FDA or any regulatory authority in our country, DCGI, through that CDSCO. Here, FDA reviewers will review all the things, will approve or find it. Then we'll come to the market. That is nothing but phase 4 studies. So now another term called phase 5, it is nothing but post-trial registration, or the another word is called, okay, that is post-trial registration or translational research. That is phase 5. Here the manufacturer, sponsor, even patients, decision makers, they will do the, even policy makers, they will take, they will analyze the what is the expectation from this new investigational product or a new drug, and based on that they will take some decision. That is called phase 5, and it is not so important. So phase 4 is enough, that is post-marketing surveillance. Phase 5, this is post-trial registration or translational research. So these are the phases of clinical trial. Exploratory clinical trial, proof of concept. These are comes under developmental clinical trials before marketing phases. And phase 3, already it reaches phase 4, definitive clinical trial, and they almost all reaches the post-marketing phase. So before one can initiate testing in human beings, expensive preclinical or laboratory research is must, and it involves year of experiments. If this stage of testing is successful, then sponsor provides data through the FDA and approval for conducting clinical trials begins, and investigational new drug application, if approved by the FDA, then testing in human beings, and formally written and approved protocol is mandatory to conduct clinical trials. And any time, in any phases of clinical trial, okay, any changes can occur, even the duration, number of participants, and if it is not appropriate, termination of clinical trials can occur at any phases. So many changes can occur at any phases of the clinical trial. That is very important. So this is, what is this IND application? Investigational new drug application. There is a clinical evaluation needs prior regulatory and IRB, that is institutional review board clearance. Phase-wise clearance have to be obtained. The end results of phase 1, 2, 3 studies is the filling of NDA, new drug application, for obtaining marketing permission from DCGI, Drug Controller General of India. It is the head of CDSCO, comes under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in India, and it regulates clinical trials and approval of IND in India. That is institutional, that is IND committee, that is called investigational, okay, that is new drug committee, that is mainly responsible for initiating trials, review of clinical trial results, and they will give the recommendations for marketing, and in case of CPSA, they mainly for preclinical trials. So this is the phases of clinical trial. So phase 1, 2, 3, before going to 4, that is new drug applications. See, compound success rates by stage. When we are testing 5,000 to 10,000 screened, only 250 enter the preclinical testing, and among that 5 enter the clinical testing, and finally we'll get one drug which is approved by the US FDA. So summary, this is very important. Phase 1 is first in human beings, except with some of the drugs which produce severe toxicity, anti-cancer drugs, immunosuppressants, antiretroviral drug, we can use the patients with target disease or otherwise healthy volunteers. That's why it's called first in human. Then it is a open label study. You know that randomized controlled trials are the quantitative comparative studies. They are the gold standards in assessing all the things in clinical trials. That is randomized controlled trials. Here open label. Okay. And human pharmacology and safety. Mainly we can assess safety, tolerability, pharmacokinetic parameters extending from months to years. Before this, phase 0. So the number 50 to 500 patients with target diseases, randomized and controlled trial, blinded, because this RCT is divided into single blind, double blind, triple blind, and quadruple blind. You know this terminology because open label means everyone knows what type of intervention they are taking. But in case of single blind, participants are blinded. Investigator knows what type of intervention giving to what type of patients. Okay, they are selected randomly to prevent the bias, selection bias. It is avoided by randomized control trial. So here it will take 1 to 2 years. In phase 3, as already mentioned, is a multi-site trial because of we are using various population of different races, genetic constitution, etc. And the number also more patients with target disease, randomized control trial, and blinded. Here also, in case of double blind, even the participant as well as the experimenters doesn't know the type of intervention and who are receiving what type of intervention. Only the analyzer, they are going to analyze the data, they know. That is called double blind. In case of triple blind, even the experiment, that is participant, investigator, and those who are involved in assessing the data, they also doesn't know. In case of quadruple, that is the sponsor, investigator, care providers, and also investigators and analyzing person, all are blinded. It is called quadruple blind. Here the only primary investigator has the information about that type of intervention and what type of patients are receiving what type of medication. These are the types of randomized control trials. So single blind, double blind, triple blind, and quadruple. So here therapeutic confirmation and comparison. So indications are finalized. Yes, the drug bedaquiline, it is mycobacterial ATP synthase inhibitor. So it will inhibit the synthesis of ATP, which is essential for Mycobacterium acid fast bacilli. So they are finalized. There's bedaquiline, it is used for MDR TB. And they finalized the indication, guidelines for therapeutic use. Yes, this is the dose we have to give, and formulated monitoring of adverse drug reaction. With respect to bedaquiline, yes, this is the drug produces QT prolongation. So those multi-drug resistant tuberculosis patients who are receiving bedaquiline, they have to undergo repeated ECG at least once in a week in the starting first 4 months, because this drug produces QT prolongation, hemoptysis, and there is a probability of occurrence of arrhythmias because of QT prolongation. So 3 to 5 years it will take. And post-marketing, so here there is no number large or according to the study, real world patients. Okay, and usually this is observational or open label, because here even investigator knows, sponsor knows, and the patients who are receiving the tablet in the market, available in the market, they know I am taking this drug for this condition. So here we are going to assess drug interaction and long-term use. Yes, if you use this long-term, what will happen? And we will assess or determine the very, very rare side effect produced by those drugs which are missed in these previous 3 trials. So it is unending after drug approval. So this is summary of the basic phase 1, 2, 3, 4. So from now, let's begin with the recent guidelines or rules given by these new drugs and clinical trials from the CDSCO. Okay, so here the CDSCO as Drug Technical Advisory Board, that is called DTAB. Whatever we make the changes in the rules, amendments, we have to put up into the Drug Technical Advisory Board. They will take all these proposals, they will formulate, and after that they will prepare one draft and they will send to this, what is that called, CDSCO. From DTAB to CDSCO, that is Central Drugs Standard Control Organization. They will receive, they will review, and they will publish, and they will prepare on the draft. And once it is published, okay, it will take the suggestion and objection from the stakeholders regarding these new rules, and after that they will once again re-evaluate any changes or any objection or any suggestion, and after that they finalized on the draft with the permission from the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. They published the final copy which is come into the effect. According to this is published New Drugs and Clinical Trial Rules 2019 in the year 2019. Okay, in the month March, 19th March 2019. From that date, New Drugs and Clinical Trial Rules has come into the effect. According to this, there are 13 chapters are there. Okay, and how many schedules? 8 schedules. How many rules? 107. And how many forms? According to this, 27 forms. Before that, there is only one form, Form 44. That is the only form they are using for application, even in case of grant of permission for clinical trial, IEC registration, etc. All the things. But now, according to this, 13 chapters, 107 rules, 8 schedule, and 27 forms. So this is the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Department of Health and Family Welfare. So notification in the 19th March 2019. So the draft of New Drugs Clinical Trial Rules 2018 was published in exercise of the powers confirmed by subsection 1 of the section 12 and subsection 1 of the section 33 of the Drugs and Cosmetic Act 1940. Here, so Drug Technical Advisory Board inviting objection and suggestion from all persons likely to be affected thereby, and before the expiry of a period of 45 days from the date on which the copies of official gazette containing the said notification were made available to the public. So all these occurs. So in the exercise of the powers confirmed by section 12 and 33 of the Drugs and Cosmetic Act, the central government, after consultation with the Drug Technical Advisory Board, hereby makes the following rules. So I mentioned there are 13 chapters. Preliminary means they have given the definition of all the terms like new drugs, subsequent new drug, investigational product, investigational new drug, academic clinical trial. What is the definition of bioavailability? What is the definition of bioequivalence? All the definitions are given in the chapter 1, that is called preliminary. Second one is authorities. What are the important authorities like CLA, Central Licensing Authority, State Licensing Authority, CDSCO, and what is the important officers comes here, and what is the role of ethics committee for clinical trial and BA/BE study. This is very important. So, and here the chapter 4, ethics committee for biomedical and health research. So all the chapters come into the effect in the March 19th, 2019, except chapter 4, which comes in effect 180 days after this new drugs and clinical trials. Separate ethics committee will be there for biomedical and health research. For this, they will maintain the national ethical guidelines, which comes under DHR, Department of Health Research. Fifth one is clinical trial, BAB study of new drugs and investigational new drugs. And what is the compensation in case of injury or a death or a what is that? A disability in case of clinical trial or in case of BA study. And what is the study center for BABE and manufacturing of new drug or investigation of new drug for clinical trial examination, import of new drug or investigational new drugs for clinical or BAB study, and import or manufacture of new drugs for sale, and import or manufacture of unapproved new drug, which is crosses all the phases, but it is unapproved by the central licensing authority. But we can use this new drug for the patient who is involved in the trial because there is no other alternative therapy available. And 12th one is amendments of drugs and cosmetic rules 1945, and 13th one is the miscellaneous. So totally 13 chapters are there according to the new clinical drug, that is new drugs and clinical trial rules 2019. So chapter 1 preliminary. Yes, here when you consider new drug, otherwise whether the new drugs and clinical trial rules 2019, okay, it is only for using new drug or investigation new drug product in humans. Yes, so according to these rules, these are we are going to use this new drug or investigational drugs only in humans. For the use of drugs in veterinary, there is comes under separate schedule, that is separate schedule called 10th A and schedule Y. Okay, so this has given proper, we can use this new drug or newly launched product only in humans, and they given proper definition of new drug. It should be approved by central licensing authority for certain claims and proposed to be marketed with modified or new claims, whether including indication, route of administration, even dosage as well as dosage form. And after that, fixed dose combination, that is combination of 2 or more active pharmacological ingredients or more drugs, they have approved separately and combined for the first time in a fixed ratio, or where ratio of ingredients approved combination for change with certain claim because it is used for some other indication, or that is a new drug delivery system and dosage form. And modified or sustained release, some of the drug they are available as a plain, but we are going to modify whether in the changes in the route of administration or the effect will be prolonged. It comes under novel drug delivery system. It is also considered new drug. Then living modified organism, monoclonal antibody, that is nothing but vaccine, stem cell derived product, gene therapeutic products, all these are new drugs forever. So those work comes in above. So after once it is comes to the market, first 4 years they consider as a new drug. What is mean by investigation new drug? A new chemical or biological entity or a substance that has not been approved for marketing as a drug in any country. Just is a chemical substance or a biological entity or a substance, but should not be approved. That is called investigational drug. And investigation product here, pharmaceutical formulation of an active ingredient or a placebo being tested or used in a clinical trial, that is called investigational product. We are going to assess, okay, in human subjects, that is called investigational product. Next one is similar biologic. So here, which is similar in terms of quality, safety, and efficacy to reference biological product licensed or approved in India. Suppose the drug is approved already in the market, another drug which is similar in terms of quality, so they are going to assess, or any innovator product approved in International Council of Harmonization, that is called ICH. Then what is new chemical entity? Here not being approved for marketing as a drug by a drug regulatory authority of any country, including these authorities specified under these rules. And it is to be proposed to be developed as a new drug for the first time by establishing its safety and efficacy, because safety margin is very important. So it can, so the one is the parameter therapeutic index. By measuring the therapeutic index, we can assess the what is the safety margin of a drug and how it produces maximum effect. So after this, what is mean by post-trial access? So making a new drug or investigational new drug available to the trial subject. Suppose they conducted the clinical trial. So clinical trial has to be completed. After that, some of the drug which is included in this trial is it has showing some beneficial to the trial subject. What are those involved in the trial? That is participants during clinical trial for such period as considered necessary by the investigator and the ethics committee. In this case, so there is no alternative biotherapy is available and it is useful for the participant or trial subject. There, the use of this drug for a period dosage, it is decided by the investigator, and for this, okay, the ethics committee approval is very important. Post-trial access, in this case, ethics committee has a main role for using this drug in such quantity and as well as such dose and duration. And no need to produce all these things to central licensing authority. So here ethics committee is enough. So what is mean by academic clinical trials? So a drug is already approved for certain claim and it is initiated by any investigator. So it is already approved for one condition. So it is going on. But some of the investigator, mainly academic or a research institution, they will take for that drug for new indication or new route of administration or a new dose. Yes, this is the drug, it is used for this condition in this dose. I am going to use this drug for another one, new dose. Because isoniazid, you know, that is 300 mg, it is used for normal category 1 tuberculosis patient. High dose of isoniazid, they've been used for multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. That is also one of the, what is that? Another new dose with another indication, where the results of such a trial are intended to be used only for academic purpose or research purpose. And here, those results are obtained, for example, PG dissertation or thesis, it comes under academic clinical trial. The drug is already approved in the market and it is used for one condition for the purpose of academic research. So here, postgraduates, they will take those studies with new indication or a new dose and they will get some of the results after evaluating in 2 years in their post-graduation process. In that condition, okay, no need to take the permission from central licensing authority. Here, ethics committee is more than enough and we should not use these results for any marketing or commercial purpose. Okay, that is the one important restriction which is related to academic clinical trial. And we can use this for publication purpose, not for marketing or manufacturing this purpose. So you already know that biomedical and health research is comes under in the chapter 4. So they have given proper definition including basic, applied, operational research or a clinical research, mainly to increase the scientific knowledge about the disease and the condition. That is physical or social behavioral and their detection and cause and evolving strategies for health promotion. Here, but does not include clinical trial. That's why ethics committee, which is handling for clinical trials, is totally different from ethics committee, which is handling the biomedical and health and research is totally different. Okay, that's why this comes under into the effect 180 days later. So you know, but they have given the proper definition of bioavailability study, rate and extent, at what rate and what is the extent, that is area under the curve to which the drug is absorbed from a pharmaceutical formulation. Because I am giving the spray or any new drug becomes available in the systemic circulation, or availability of the drug at the site of action is nothing but receptor. And bioequivalence, that is in the absence of statistically significant difference. Please remember, absence of a statistically, because you know that the two companies, they will prepare phenytoin, one is Delanton and Eptoin. You know that when they are biologically similar, their bioavailability is less than 30%, that is the margin, then they are biologically equivalent. So absence of a statistically significant difference in the rate and extent of absorption of an active ingredient from the same formulation, same drug, but different manufacturer and different brands and same indication. Okay, here in comparison to the reference formulation, having the same active ingredient when administered in the same molar dose. Please remember dosage, because one time for the one patient we are giving tablet, another one we are giving injection. No, same dose, same route, so same dosage form, and their bioavailability, the percentage of variation should be less than 30%. So absence of statistically significant difference, then they are called biologically equivalent. So already the chapter is authorities and officers. What are the important authorities? So Central Licensing Authority, that is CDSCO, and delegating power of Central Licensing Authority, Drug Controller General of India and Controlling Officer. They decided they comes under in the chapter 2 of New Drugs and Clinical Trial Rules 2019. Coming to the Ethics Committee for Clinical Trial and BABE study. Now, we will discuss the Ethics Committee role in conducting clinical trial or a BABE study. Please remember the chapter 3, Ethics Committee for Clinical Trial, that is BABE study. Here, why we have to know about and what is the requirement of Ethics Committee? So whoever intends to conduct clinical trial, BABE study shall be required to have approval of an ethics committee for clinical real trial registered under the rule 18, because almost all 107 rules are there. Okay, just you remember the how many chapter schedule. Here the ethics committee shall apply for registration with the Central Licensing Authority. Yes, because ethics committee for its registration, they have to fill the application in the form CT01. Please remember CT01 for ethics committee registration. Okay, to get the permission from the Central Licensing Authority. Then this ethics committee can do all the works. What is the constitution of ethics committee? So it minimum 7 members should be there. Okay, one is chairperson, you know that. Okay, and then member secretary, lawyer, basic medical scientist, and philosopher. Okay, or a layperson, and they included women member. Okay, and independent member. So this is the main constitution of ethics committee. So in condition of permission for conduct of clinical trial. So suppose the clinical trial sites is there, they are planning for some sponsor or a manufacturer, they are planning for the conducting clinical trials. But that site doesn't have their own ethics committee. Then because ethics committee permission is mandatory, but they doesn't have this ethics committee at that site. But they can use registered ethics committee of another trial site or independent ethics committee which is already registered, comes under Central Licensing Authority. So what is that rule? That is located within the same city, or if not possible, within a radius of 50 kilometers of the clinical trial site. In that condition, they have to take the permission from this clinical ethics committee and they can conduct the clinical trial. So status of enrollment of trial subjects shall be submitted to the CLA in quarterly basis. Okay, every 3 months. And in place of annual status reports, 6 months reports of each clinical trial submitted to the Central Licensing Authority. And if they are going to terminate the clinical trial, they have to be notified within 30 days to the Central Licensing Authority. These are very important. So quarterly basis, 6 monthly status report, and within 30 days. So now, what is the meaning of this ethics? So it is obtained from the Greek word called ethos, means custom or a character. It is nothing but systematic study of values towards understanding and examining what is right and what is wrong. Because now, according to the CBME curriculum, we are telling empathy, ethics in communication part and all the aspects regarding writing the prescription as well as treating the patient. And at that time, how will you get the patient confidence? So here it is mainly examining what is right, what is wrong with respect to clinical trial. And what is the need of this ethics in clinical research? One is identifying implementing the acceptable conditions of exposure of some individual to the risk and burdens for the benefit of a community at large. That is the very important. We have to identify and implementing the acceptable condition. Whether we don't know which one is implementing and which one is acceptable by these individuals. So that is the one of the important. So these are the specific ethical issues in clinical research, because the design of a study starting point, that is very, very complicated. So it deals with the ethical issues here, design of a study, whether it is interventional, just observational, open label, randomized control, and protocol review, because complete complete written format will be there with scientific reasons which is included in the protocol, and what are the populations are included, and what is the role of placebo in the treatment part we are giving to the control group, and audiovisual recording, and ICF procedure, therapeutic misconception, and ongoing monitoring. If there is any serious adverse event, how to report, suppose any injury or a death or what is a disability, what is the procedure to give compensation, and what is mean by post-trial access. So what is the accreditation of ethics committee here? What is the main objective? So ethics committee should be adequately qualified, experienced, knowledgeable in ethical issues, and they should know the applicable rules and regulations for conduct of clinical trials, and ensuring scientific integrity and protection of subject rights, safety, and well-being. Whatever we are doing this mainly for protection of subject rights, safety, and well-being of the participant. That is very important. So now what are the outcomes? Competently assess the risk and scientific validity of trials, ensure the protection of subject rights, safety, and well-being, and they have the transparency in functioning. Okay. And procedure, whatever the procedure they are doing and whatever the function they are doing, it should be transparent, and they are followed all essential activities. Whatever they are doing should be transparent. There is no deviation from the rules and regulations. So this is standards, accreditation standards. They have to follow the first one is formation of ethics committee, minimum 7 members. They have to follow the standard operating procedure, composition, subject rights, safety, well-being, and administrative support, review process, and even decision making. And after meeting the activities, monitoring, self-assessment, record keeping, and archival. So next, it is a multidisciplinary and a multisectorial, should have independence from the institutional, no political involvement, professional or market influencers. It is almost like independent body. So adequate age and gender representation should be there, should be aware of local, social, and cultural norms, subject expert or representative from the specific patient group. Chairperson should be from the outside the institution, because you have to maintain the independence in taking the decision, and not head of the same institution, that is non-affiliated, to maintain the independence of the committee. But member secretary is the main important. He or she should be from the same institution, should conduct the business of the committee. Okay. So according to the new clinical trial rules 2019, at least 7 members should be there. According to the ICMR, 8 to 12 members should be there. So first one is chairperson outside from the institution. Next, basic scientist, that is basic medical scientist, probably here pharmacologist as a role. And clinicians, yes, they have enough knowledge in the clinical side, and they should from the same institution. Legal expert, you should have basic degree in the LLB, okay, and enough knowledge in related to that. Social scientist or philosopher, yes, he knows social and behavioral science, and as well as cultural and moral values, as well as ethical. Lay person, yes, he is a literate, okay, but you should not graduate from the medical science related or any health subject related, and you should not study this medical science or health related subject in the last 5 years. Okay, and you should be involved in the so many various community activities. That will be the qualification of a lay person. and he has the ability, but he should have the ability to assess the moral values, and he has to observe from the participant side, means like a participant perceptive. It is the main role of this layperson. And member secretary, he is definitely from the same institution, and he knows and he has the various knowledge in research ethics, and and the person member secretary should have good communication, because he is the main pillar of this ethics committee. Without member secretary, it is very difficult to run the ethics committee. That's all. Member secretary should be okay from the same institution, and he has various knowledge related to clinical research, ethics, etc. So thus should have collective qualification, and all should undergo like chairperson, basic scientist, and especially chairperson, he has a from well perspective, and he should any previous experience of ethics committee as a chairperson in some other institution, it is well and good. So it will be very helpful. Should have collective qualification, training, experience to review and evaluate the science, medical aspects, and the ethics. So this is very important. Please remember the form for registration of ethics committee CT01. So how many forms are there? Previously 44, number 44 was there. Recently, according to the guidelines, 27 clinical trial forms are there. 01 is used for application of registration. How? They will submit this application along with supported documents through the portal called Sugam portal. Please remember this. Through this, they will submit this all these CT01 with 01 with supported documents to the Central Licensing Authority, that is called CDSCO. They will permit the grant of permission or registration in the form of CT02. So this is ethics committee in conducting clinical trials, BA/BE study. It is not related to biomedical and health research. Now, once you register, what is the validity period? Definitely it is granted in the form CT02 and shall remain valid for a period of 5 years from the date of its issue. Yes. After 5 years, what will happen? So we have to go for renewal or re-registration. In that case also, we have to submit the application for renewal of registration or re-registration, same as form 01. At least 90 days before or prior to the date of expiry of registration. Minimum 90 days, that is 3 months, not very near to the date of expiry. Okay, so suppose in this case, when there is a ethics committee is not maintaining the protocols or guidelines which is provided by the CDSCO, on that condition, the Central Licensing Authority, CDSCO, it will give, it has the capacity, means it has the right to suspend or cancel of registration of ethics committee in related to clinical trial. So like they will give the issue warning to the EC describing the deficiency or defect observed during an inspection, because these authorized officers from the CDSCO, they can visit this ethics committee which is going in clinical trial, comes under ethics committee. They can visit at any time without any notice, and they can give the issue warning in the form of show cause notice and reject the results of clinical trial or BSB study, either can suspend for such period like 1 year, 2 year, or totally they cancel the registration. In this, suppose in this case of all these registration and all, okay, they will give the show cause notice, and they will mention the specified time. In that, the ethics committee have to give the reply to the CDSCO. Okay, suppose in that case, if they give these all, or they have the suspension or cancel the registration, in this case, ethics committee can go for appeal to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Okay, and there within 60 days, the Central Licensing Authority, they will take the decision for continuation of or any other related to ethics committee in case of fault or deviation of rules and protocols. So this is composition for clinical trial. So chairperson outside, clinicians, they should be from the inside or outside. No, there is no restriction, but layperson should be outside. Basic medical scientist, usually pharmacologist, woman member, legal expert, social scientist or NGO, and member secretary. So what is the role of or responsibilities of ethics committee members? They should undergo appropriate training, that is called GCP training, to enhance the competency, maintain the confidentiality of documents, allocate the time for reviewing the proposals, and need to put on record on various interests, financial and otherwise, to avoid the conflict of interest, non-judgmental and unbiased decision making. So this is the one of the important leader of this ethics committee called member secretary, plan meeting calendar, coordination of meeting. And you already know that in the various medical colleges, you will get the circular for PGs. You have to submit the protocol within this date to the institution ethics committee. All the circular are managed by member secretary, and she will review along with the other members included in the ethics committee. Okay, and they have to present their presentation before taking any approval. And coordination of meeting, circulating agenda, documents, reminders, maintaining attendance after the meeting. He or she has to prepare the MOM and ensure timely submission of documents related to clinical trials as well as postgraduate thesis, and even other students those who are going for any proposal, because recently ICMR has proposed for the student, that is UG student, they have to submit the protocol. All these reviewed by the member secretary, and these member secretary will plan for meeting as well as presentation for those participants. What are the list of documents for new proposals? Definitely protocol should be there, investigator brochure, safety information, informed consent form. It is very important. ICF with translation, it should be in their vernacular language. So suppose in Karnataka we are going to conduct a clinical trial, it should be in the local language Kannada. If it is in Hyderabad, Andhra Pradesh, Telugu, various like that, in Maharashtra, Marathi, like, because it should be completely understood by the participant. Back translation with their certificate, patient information sheet, and DCJ approval or submission letter also enough. Investigator undertaking and liability insurance and current CV of the principal investigator. That is very important. So other project specific documents like patient card, visit card, medication card, because we have to follow in certain clinical trials like 6 months. So we can't give any, means we can't admit the patient for 6 months. Okay, first 15 days should be there. After that, every 15 days or 1 month, we have to do the follow-up. There, we have to maintain the patient card, visit card, even the phone number of the patient, or alternative number should be there. Because when they are doing some trials, in that time, we have seen, because the patient number is switched off or it is not reachable. At that time, we have to communicate with the patient attenders for the further follow-up, because the main drawback is follow-up is very, very complicated. Once they will go out, they will come back. They won't come back. We have to continuously call, and we have to only call them repeatedly, then only they will. So source template, questionnaire, paper CRF, okay, and subject document procedures if applicable, like inclusion, exclusion criteria, draft copy of these, sponsor, contract research organization, principal investigator, site management organization, and institution. And they have to submit the fees along with their all the documents and institutional ethics committee submission form. All these maintained by member secretary. So once again, same amendments, serious adverse effect notification, safety reports, communication with the DCH regarding various queries. Suppose the clinical trial, the investigator and other team, they are deviating the protocol. In that condition, the member secretary has to report or communicate with the central licensing authority related to those issues through the mail or in the Sugam portal. So record keeping is very important. Once the clinical trial is completed, the ethics committee has to maintain the related clinical trial study related documents minimum for a period of 5 years. That is very important. Okay, constitution, composition, curriculum of all the members, standard operating procedure, national and international guidelines like ICH, GCP guidelines, copies of all EC submission documents, EC members, investigator, DCH agenda, minutes of meeting, training details of all the ethics committee members should be maintained by the member secretary. So here, compilation and analysis in case of protocol deviation, approval ratio, patient's withdrawal ratio, because at any time the participant or trial subject can withdraw from the trial. They have to note the reason and also serious, if there is any serious adverse event, okay, all these, the document maintained by member secretary. So lawyer, that is mainly for clinical trials and informed consent form. Here, review all these parties, details of protocol, statement of work, term responsibilities of parties, payment details, because lawyer has to deal with the legal issues related to the clinical trial. And he has to maintain the confidentiality. Suppose any injury occurs, and what is the role of giving compensation, that is insurance related to that, dispute resolution. And when there is a severe injury or something, it is not it is deviating from the normal protocol, termination, budget, record retention, even audit, and also intellectual property like inventions and improvements, ownership of data, and publication rights. These are comes under lawyer. Related to review of informed consent form, nature and purpose of study, duration of participation with number of participants, procedures and forcible risk, benefit to the participant, not only participant, he has to see the community or medical profession, policy in compensation, availability of medical treatment and alternative treatments if available. So number, that is loss of benefit on withdrawal, benefit sharing, contact detail of principal investigator or co-investigator in multi-centric studies, because multi-site trial, it is phase 3. Contact details of chairperson of IEC for appeal against violation of more information related to the research or in case of injury. So clinician, definitely they have various knowledge related to the clinical subject. They have to give the clear research objective and rationale for undertaking the investigation, and participant recruitment procedure they will help. Yes, these are the included and these are excluded, like children and even pregnant women or elderly patient, they are excluded from these criteria. They will give because they have the knowledge. And statistical methodology including sample size, appropriateness of type of design, and what are the type of intervention related to dosage of drug, route of administration, duration of treatment, and details of invasive procedures. And plan to withdraw or withhold the standard therapies in the course of research. Okay, it has the that is one of the power of this clinician, procedure for seeking and obtaining informed consent, both in the that is standard language as well as vernacular language. So proposed compensation, reimbursement of incidental expenses, plan for publication of results, even positive or negative, while maintaining the privacy and confidentiality of the study participant. Basic scientist, he should be the pharmacologist, and there is a review of investigate brochure, review of informed consent form, protocol, and social scientist. Along with that, they will take some other role like review of design of a trial, number of blood sample, or post-trial access. And chairman is obviously outside from the institute to ensure the adequacy of infrastructure and facilities. All these requirements are there, facilities are there to conduct this clinical trial. It should be one of the function of chairperson, and qualification of a study team, conflict of interest related to ethics committee members and study team, plan to maintain the confidentiality, serious adverse event in that compensation, and recording in related to informed consent, ensuring the trainings of ethics committee members according to the protocol and also guidelines from the CDS scope. So what is this layperson? Layperson is literate but is not related to this profession. Ethical review of the proposal along with their translation, and serve as a patient or a participant or a community representative. That's why he can assume and he will get more information when he think like I am the participant of this subject. What percentage of benefit I am going to get or any risk in this trial. So this way the layperson will think that. So assess on social aspects, if any. That is the one of the important function of layperson. So here reviewed by at least 5 members. Suppose once you get the registration, it is valid for 5 years. In any one of the member is resigned, any change in the membership, that time what is the procedure to take new member? So in this case, any change in the member, okay, the ethics committee, okay, have to add another member. So here ethics committee member secretary, he has to upload the new member CV, qualification, GCP training certificate, and also the appointment order from the institution, and along with the previous member resignation letter. These documents should uploaded in the Sugam portal for any change in the membership within 30 working days. That is very important. So that is the procedure of changing the member. Okay, you have to remember within 30 days. So same, maintain the records all once the clinical trial is completed, minimum for 5 years. So all these like constitution, composition, standard procedure, etc. These are maintained, all records are maintained by ethics committee. Now, so this is separate ethics committee for biomedical and health research, which intends to conduct research shall be required of ethics committee review and oversee. So according to this, the detail is given in NEG, National Ethical Guidelines for Biomedical and Health Research. This is chapter 4. So here referred in the rule 15. So that is relating to research shall be constituted in the accordance with the National Ethical Guidelines involving human participant by the ICMR. That is for CDSCO. This is given by Department of Health Research, that is Indian Council of Medical Research. That is for ethics committee, which is involving biomedical and health research. For this, registration for this same CT01, but they will give the approval or grant of permission in CT03. In case of bioavailability and clinical trial, it will give permission in CT02. Please remember the form number 3. Chapter 5, clinical trial and BABE study of new drugs and investigational new drugs. You know, it is divided into part A, clinical trial. Part B is BABE study. No person or institution or organization shall conduct a clinical trial without any permission from the granted by the Central Licensing Authority, and without the protocol there having been approved by the ethics committee for clinical trial registered in accordance with the provision of Rule 8. And here every person associated with conduct of clinical trial shall follow the general principles and practices specified in the schedule. In the end of this session, I will show the schedules. That there are total 8 schedules are there. So no person or institution or even organization shall conduct a clinical trial except in accordance with the procedure described under the provisions of the Act and these rules. They have to get the ethics committee permission as well as CLA. It is simultaneously, it will go in parallel manner. So oversight, yes, work of every clinical trial shall be overseen by ethics committee. That is registration for ethics committee. For taking permission to conduct the clinical trial, they sponsor or a manufacturer, okay, they are developer, drug developer, they have give the application that is in the form CT04. That is called, IND application, investigation new drug. Along with that other documents, they have to submit this form CT04. And here the Central Licensing Authority can give the permission in CT06. What is that? What is the time duration? Grant of permission to conduct the clinical trial. Once you submit, within 90 days, he has to give the permission for conducting clinical trial. So what is the condition for permission? So is already discussed, it doesn't have their own EC. We go for registered or independent in the same city or with a radius of 50 kilometers. Yes, status of enrollment, quarterly basis, and annually instead of annual 6 months. And termination, they have to report within 30 days. Yes, according to this order issued by the CDSCO, it can be manually completed or uploaded in the Sugam portal till the new form are integrated into the online. Okay, so here, once you get the permission for conducting clinical trial, what is the validity period? Yes, you have uploaded the CT04, okay, and you has given in the form CT06 permission or automatic approval under the rule 23 in form CT4A, that is automatic approval. It is valid for minimum 2 years period, that is 2 years from the date of issue, unless it is extended by Central Licensing Authority. After 2 years, for any other procedure, you have to apply once again through CT04. So post-trial access, where an investigator of a clinical trial of the new drug has been recommended for the trial subject. There, you have to take the approval from the ethics committee for that clinical trial subject when you are going to use those investigation product which is undergoes clinical trial. After completion of this, that is called post-trial access. So here, the sponsor should provide those investigation product to the trial subject free of cost. And if the clinical trial conducted for indication for which no alternative therapy available, and this new drug has been founded some beneficial to those subjects, that's why he has to provide these drug free of cost with the permission from ethics committee. Here, you have to take the, along with ethics committee, you have to take the subject consent and legal aid of sub-subject. So it is most important to get the consent. And what is mean by academic clinical trial? We already discussed it, but it is mainly used for solely for academic research purpose. Only EC approval is mandatory. No need of this clinical trial. Suppose any deviation from this academic clinical trial to other, suppose the Central Licensing Authority thinks that it is not an observational study, there is a deviation, it is not an academic clinical trial, they can take the decision at any time. They can terminate, even cancel the results of those obtained in the academic clinical trial. And this observation of such clinical trial, that result should not be used for any marketing purpose as well as promotional purpose. Now, inspection. So any officer authorized by CLA can inspect, search any record, statistical result, document, investigational drug, and other related documents at any time during a trial. So here, suspension or cancellation of permission. So has been granted under rule form CT06 or automatic under 4A phase to comply with any provision. So here, CLA can take one or more of the following, namely issue warning, reject the results, suspend and debar the investigator or a sponsor, and blacklisting the principal investigator. These are the main decision taken by the Central Licensing Authority. So now part A is a clinical trial, part B, BA/BE study. So they are given the proper definition of BA/BE. Here also, no BA/BE study of any new drug or investigation new drug shall be conducted, okay, by any person except in accordance with the provisions of the Act and this rule. They have to take the special permission like CT04, CT06 for clinical trial. In the similar manner, they have to take the approval from the Central Licensing Authority. Okay, here also doesn't have any independent, that is ethics committee. We can go for same city. That is common for all BA/BE study. What is the validity period? See, please remember CT07. They have to take this one, apply the permission. So it is valid for 1 year. In case of clinical trial, it is valid for 2 years from the date of issues, unless it is cancelled or suspended by the Central Licensing Authority. Now, compensation chapter 6. Just you remember, in case of death of trial subjects during CT clinical trial or BA/BE study, legal heir of the trial subject, here the lawyer shall be provided the final composition by the sponsor. He will give the advice what is the composition for this trial subject, and the sponsor or its representative is asked to pay the financial support to the trial subject. In case of permanent disability or any injury occurred due to trial subject, shall be provided financial supposition by the sponsor. Whatever sponsor as its representative responsible for this compensation. Okay. So here, this is the flow chart. Please remember, any case of SAE, serious adverse event. So within 1 day, 24 hours of occurrence of SAE, okay. So the initial report by the principal investigator or co-investigator. Okay. After this, he has to submit this SAE to regulatory authority, institute ethics committee or sponsor. And within 14 days, based on the knowledge of occurrence of SAE, final report should be made by both investigator and sponsor and has to report within 14 days regulatory authority, institute or head of the institute. So suppose death of the participant, trial subject. Here, this expert committee is appointed by the CLA CDSCO. They will analyze the report and based on their opinion from the causality assessment scale, they will decide the compensation. Within 30 days of occurrence of SAE, sponsor to pay compensation within 30 days of receipt of order from CDSCO. Suppose there is no death, only injury or disability. Here, ethics committee has the role. First one, they analyze the report and based on their causality and also opinion from the others, they will decide the compensation. And final, whatever this analyzed report, they will send to the CLA and recommendation on the causality assessment scale and final order and quantum of compensation within 30 days of report of this. Okay, they have to give the compensation. Okay, so this is about what is the procedure in case of injury to trial subject or a death or a disability. So this one, medical management. So totally sponsor should provide free medical management to subject as long as required as per the opinion of the investigator. Because of this trial, he is getting all these serious adverse events. Yes. So it shall be discharged by the sponsor or the person who has obtained permission from the central licensing authority. So these are the consideration of injury or a death. So related to adverse effect, violation of approved protocol, scientific misconduct or any negligence, failure of investigation product to provide intended therapeutic effect, not providing the required standard care. Even there is a serious adverse effect due to concomitant medication. And in case of using the pregnant woman, and there is adverse effect on child in utero because of participation of the parent and any clinical trial procedure involved in the study leading to serious adverse effect. So now you remember application for BAB studies CT08 and it is valid for 1 year. And so authority shall be made to set in the form CT08. Grant of permission CT09 within 90 working days, same as clinical trial. And here also any officer authorized by this CLA can inspect the clinical, that is BABE study center at any time. So validity period of renewal. So here 5 years from the date of issues unless suspended or cancelled, and renewal of registration is along with the documents at least 90 days prior to expiry date of registration. So this is chapter 8, application for permission. So here, no person shall manufacture a new drug or investigation drug to conduct clinical trial or BAB study or examination without obtaining permission to manufacture such new drug from the CLA. So they have to take the permission in the application form CT010 for the manufacture of new drug or investigation of new drug. Yes. Here, grant of permission, new drugs. So within 90 working days from the date of receipt. And validity period, so valid for period of 3 years. New drug or investigation new drugs for clinical trial or bioavailability for examination, test and analysis, not for sale or distribution. So here import of new drug and investigation new drug for clinical trial, BA/BE study or test and analysis. Here they will make an application in the form CT06 to the Central Licensing Authority, and they will import of new drug or investigation new drug for clinical trial or BA/BE study. And this is also they will grant the license in CT0 clinical trial 17 form within a period of 90 days. So this is for sale or for distribution. So no person shall import or manufacture for sale or distribution of any new drug from the active pharmaceutical ingredient, except in accordance with the provisions of Act and these rules. So they have to obtain the permission from Central Licensing Authority in CD 18. And local clinical trial may not be required to be submitted along with the application. So here, where the drug is indicated in life-threatening diseases or serious disease or disease of special relevance related to Indian health scenario, for which condition which is unmet need in India, for example, extensively drug-resistant tuberculosis, hepatitis C, influenza, dengue, malaria, for these rare diseases for which drugs are not available or they are available at high cost, and even it is an orphan drug. That is, orphan drug is when they consider which affects not more than 5 lakhs persons in India. That is the definition of orphan drug. It is also given in preliminary, chapter 1, preliminary. Okay. So here, submission of requirements relating to animal toxicology, reproduction studies, teratogenic, perinatal, all these may be modified or relaxed in case of new drugs approved and marketed for more than 2 years. So in this case, for import of new drugs for sale or distribution, you have to take the permission, grant of permission in CT 19, and for sale, CT clinical trial 20 form. Same in case of suspension or cancellation of import, they will give the show cause notice and an opportunity of being here by an order in writing, or may suspend the permission for such period. So license to import the new drug for sale. So according to this, they have to submit the permission under Rule 76 in the form 19 and 20. So import of manufacture of unapproved drug. Okay, so in government hospital and medical institution. In this case, they have conducted the study, but it is not approved by the Central Licensing Authority, and is showing some beneficial in that trial subject. In that case, in government hospital or in government institution, a medical officer of a government hospital or a government medical education, he make an application which is duly certified by MS, medical superintendent of the government hospital or head of the government medical institution, and in this case maybe to the Central Licensing Authority in the form CT 24, and they will give the permission for this unapproved new drug for using by in the government hospital or government medical institution in the form CT 25. Okay, these are the conditions for license, and this is application for manufacture of unapproved new drug but under clinical trial for any treatment of patient of life-threatening diseases. So form 26, here consent in writing from the patient and make an application to the EC, Ethics Committee of a government hospital or medical institute is mandatory. After obtaining the recommendation of the EC, manufacturer shall make the application in form 26 permission to the CLA and grant of permission to manufacture. Yes, you have to take this unapproved new drug, but under clinical trial, it is still in the clinical trial. It will be helpful for a patient of life-threatening disease. There is no alternative therapy, but this unapproved drug showing some beneficial, you have to manufacture this amount only. Then they give the permission in the form CT 27. Same year, valid for 1 year. Medical superintendent, a registered pharmacist shall maintain a record of all the full name, address of the trial subject, diagnosis, dosage schedule, what are the total quantity of drug reserved, received and issued, and countersigned by the MS or head of the medical institute. And if any drugs left over there or remain unused or get damaged, okay, or the shelf of life is expired, it should be destroyed by the manufacturer. So chapter 12, amendments of drugs and cosmetic rules 1945. I already told new drugs and clinical trial rules. It is using of new drugs and investigation of new drugs for human use only. For veterinary use, for 10th A and Schedule Y. It shall not be applicable in respect of new drugs and investigation on new drugs for human use. This is veterinary use. And chapter 13, it is a miscellaneous pre-submission. So who intends to make an application for grant of license or permission for import or manufacture of new drugs or conduct clinical trial may request making an application in writing for pre-submission meeting with a CLA or any other officer, whether the applicant intends to seek guidance about the sale process of new drug or import license. So in this case, in the pre-submission meeting, the CLA or any other person authorized by shall provide suitable clarification to the applicant. So post-submission, here also any queries related to pending application or also make an application for post-submission meeting with the officer designated by the CLA within a period of 15 days from the date of query. So the summary of the clarification provided by designated officer shall be made available to the applicant. So here constitution of expert committee or a group of experts. This is for mainly to give guidance to the drug technical advisory board. It is a part of CDSCO. So in this case, any queries are also, it gives recommendation to the authority on any matters, okay, within a period of 60 days from the date of reference. So name of the countries for purpose of new drug approval. Here CLA with the approval of central government may specify in order the name of countries and also from time to time for considering where of local clinical trial for approval of new drugs. So now 13 chapters over, from preliminary to miscellaneous, okay, and there are 8 schedules. Just you remember general principles and practices for clinical trial, requirement and guidelines for permission to import or manufacture of new drug for sale or undertake clinical trial. Schedule 3, conduct of clinical trial, application, contents, informed consent, etc. Requirement and guidelines for BA/BE study, post-marketing assessment, that is especially phase 4, and also post-marketing surveillance through periodic safety update report, that is PSUR. Fees payable for license, permission, registration certificate, everything is given in the Schedule 6. Schedule 7, formula to determine the quantum of compensation. Please, so based on this, suppose the participant is having any government job or any source of income, based on that they will calculate. So according to this formula, they are using to calculate the quantum of compensation. It is Schedule 7. And Schedule 8, they has given forms for conducting clinical trials. So now summary. So clinical trials are the mainly human experiments. They are designed to study the efficacy and safety of a new drug or intervention. Definitely it is a investigational new drug or a investigation product. So what is the main purpose? It involves phase 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and each phase has specific objectives and specification with the end results. Okay, based on their end results, the new drug will move from one phase to another phase. And before that, they have some regulatory authority for obtaining the permission. Here, investigational new drug, it is just an application to conduct clinical trial. Okay, what is NDA? New drug application, permission to market the new drug. Before phase 4, after phase 3, the sponsor will submit NDA. And well-designed, effectively executed clinical trial, they will form the base of therapeutic decision. Okay. And next, they must follow guidelines and protocol. What is the main purpose? To ensure the safety, okay, and well-being of all the participants involved in the clinical trial. So according to the New Drugs and Clinical Trial Rule 2019, they have given 13 chapters, 8 schedule, 107 rules, and 27 forms. Okay, according to this, we will conduct the clinical trial, BA/BE studies, and as well as compensation related to trial injury, death or disability, even import of new drug, as well as the manufacture and even sale for distribution. So these are my references. So thank you for patience listening since 1.5 hour. Raghu?
Yes, guys. Any questions you can ask in the chat box, so it will be answered.
Open question. Yes, where I have to see phase 5. Please explain once again. Yes. See, one by one. See, phase 5, it is a post-trial registration. Okay. So here, the policy makers, thank you, madam. Very good presentation from your words. Yes. So post-trial registration or translational research, it is not so much important. Here, the sponsor or drug distributors or even the patients, okay, they will take the decision, means they will expect the what is going to give this new drug. Based on that, they will make their own decision. Okay, so it is unclear still, but they have given the word translational research or post-trial registration. Okay, after clinical trial phase 4, that is after that post-trial registration. So based on their acceptance from the expected drug, they will take their own decision, that is called phase 5. Any questions? Ethics committee guidelines for human studies and for animal studies according to CDS Co. Where is the chat box? Chat.
Yeah, Dr. Narsimurthy, you can scroll up for the other questions which has been, and you can answer one by one.
Yes,
Thank
yes. Question sessions will be last. Okay. Phase 5 over. We'll do in the last. Ask phase 5. Why ethics committee receive only hard copies of photo protocol? Why it can't be soft copies and go green? So much wastage of paper and unnecessary paperwork added to each project for investigator. Yes, here receive the hard copies because it is the member secretary has to maintain the documents. Okay, so that is the one purpose. The ethics committee receives hard copies of protocols. Okay, so here because they have to maintain the documents related to all the protocols for a period of 5 years. Suppose any authorized officer from the Central Licensing Authority, he can visit at any time. At that time, if the member secretary tells like that, yes, it is there in the soft copy, means no one will accept it. Even any inspection you take, so hard copy is mandatory when the persons, when they come and visit. Suppose the circular or anything, it is there in a soft copy, no one will accept it. That's why it is the responsibility of a member secretary to maintain the hard copies of protocols. Yes, Reena. What if there is a no plan calendar for institutional ethics committee? If there is no plan calendar, definitely. So as a postgraduates or any clinicians, those who are going to do the any study in that condition, if there is no plan calendar, definitely it will gives that is any mismatch of dates. Suppose when this ethics committee member secretary, if will plan suddenly for meeting at that time, so the what is the participant or any staff or any PG who is going to present, he will may miss or he or she may not prepare. That's why if there is no plan calendar for IEC, definitely it will affect the others also, even member secretary also. That's why member secretary should follow the, he has to make the calendar. Just 1 minute. Can member secretary? Yes, 1 minute. Reena, okay. Can member secretary during his tenure be a principal investigator? What will that become conflict of interest and unacceptable? Yes, definitely. Member secretary should not become the principal investigator. Okay, because if she becomes, definitely there is a conflict of interest, because she has the, he or she, the member secretary has all the, he knows in and out of ethics committee. So if she is become principal investigator, there is a conflict of interest and it is unacceptable. So during his tenure, you should not become the principal investigator or even co-investigator for any studies which is occurring in that institution, because member secretary from the institution, so he or she should not be become a principal investigator. Phase 5 over. Next is NK. If all biosimilars are to be investigated as a new drugs, does a patient a issue for a innovator biologics? Yes, biosimilar, they are almost similar to safety, efficacy, etc. In that condition, the patient does patent a issue for a innovator biological. There is a, definitely there is a issue for innovator in regarding manufacturing of similar biologics, means they produce the same safety and efficacy. And ABD, ethics committee guidelines for human studies and for animal studies according to CDSCO and CPSA. Yes, so here ethics committee guidelines for human studies, that is comes under CDSCO. Animal studies, it is mainly for CPCSA, that is committee for the purpose of control and of supervision of experiment on animals. So here, what is the difference between investigational new drug and investigational pharmaceutical product? Yes, here. So in this condition, investigational new drug means which is not approved, which is not approved by the any country. Okay, investigational new drug, it only just crosses the preclinical studies. Investigation pharmaceutical product means it contains active ingredient and also it should be a placebo. That is the difference between IND and pharmacological product. Biosimilar medication efficacy if 30% less, do we need to explain the same to the patient before using? So Reena, no. So this is for our understanding, because the patient is suffering from epilepsy. You are giving the phenytoin of different brand. Okay. So in clinical practice, the patient is epileptic, is taking some anti-epileptic medication. Suppose he is addicted to that Eptoin brand. Suddenly, this drug is not available, and if he takes Delantine, another brand name, sometimes if there is any bioavailability difference, there is a more, the person will get the recurrences of seizures. That's why we have to maintain the standard pharmaceutical companies, they will maintain the standard bioavailability. We should be less than 30% based on their cost of the each drug. If suppose the person is taking one drug, the bioavailability is less than 30, another drug, bioavailability is very, very less. Definitely the patient will develop or he will get symptoms once again back. That's why they have to maintain the standard absorption, distribution, and plasma concentration attainment in each patient. Okay, next. Urvi Joshi, madam. So, is site registration compulsory for investigator? Yes, definitely. For conducting clinical trial or even BABE study, he has to register. Okay, site registration is compulsory. Ethics committee, once is ethics committee is registered under CDSCO, CLA, then only it has the power, and under that investigator can do clinical trial. Suppose if anything happens and even ethics committee is not under registration, then CDSCO is not responsible for any that. And even for publishing or even for marketing purpose, okay, at that time also you have to get the registration from EC, as well as you have to submit the your clinical trial results to the central licensing authority. That time they will check from which ethics committee you have taken permission. That's why there is a compulsory registration is compulsory for investigator. And even for UG student is going for presentation in any conference related to clinical trial, that is intervention study, he has to submit protocol for the EC. Then only he has to do. Without doing preclinical study, can we directly go to the phase 0 study? So there are alternative studies for there, alternative experiments are there for apart from animal studies, because recently according to the CPSA guidelines, only there is a new molecule and it is especially is investigated for the new indication. That time they will give the permission, because of we should not harm the animals and all. So without doing preclinical study, so directly if he goes, then probably we are damaging the healthy volunteers. Otherwise, some use other alternative these things and we'll get the enough data from the preclinical study. When we have the data from the preclinical study, then the investigator have the confidence. Yes, we can move further. We can use these things in healthy volunteers or a patient. Otherwise, there is a lack of confidence for the investigator. And I, sir, a very informative and nice presentation. Can please explain post-trial access? Definitely. Gausia Banu. Madam, actually post-trial access after completion of the clinical trial, the drug is unapproved from the central licensing authority. In that condition, so the principal investigator should analyze, yes, this drug is producing beneficial effect for this participant, because this is participant is suffering from life-threatening condition or a disease, and other than other drugs, this drug is beneficial for this patient. In this condition, the investigator will take the decision how many tablets and what is the dose and what is the duration we can give this trial drug for this patient. He has to take the permission from ethics committee and will use those drugs for that particular trial subject, not for any other person who is not involved in the clinical trial. Next, as per NDCT 2019, should an SAE unrelated to study drug, for example, RTA, need to be compensated? Yes, here, if it is not unrelated to study drug, road traffic accident, so here, once again, legal issues. It should be managed by lawyer, chairperson, and also clinician. For humanity wise, some even it is not comes under due to the study drug which is related to the clinical trial, at least for the humanity purpose, minimum the percentage should be from the sponsor or any investigator or a drug developer should give minimal percentage of this compensation to the person who is involved in the trial subject met with an road traffic accident. Yes. How frequently should members be trained? So actually, every year GCP training should be there. Suppose recently the guidelines should be there. They have to attend the new drugs clinical trials seminars or CME or webinars, and according to that IEC, okay, they will go to the regional center. At least minimum 1 or one time or two times in 1 year, or once in 2 years, that is enough. Reena madam, right? Oh, thank you, sir. Guru, very nice presentation. Can you please conduct a webinar on new drug development also? Okay, madam. Thank you, Guru Lohi, sir. Anita Balachandran, madam. Can an SAE be reported as a mail to HEC on a day which is declared as a holiday? Yes. If the chairman or a secretary is out of station on occurrence of SAE, can the hard copy be received by a member of healthcare? Okay, here, yes, here, suppose SAE reported, you get the mail, through the mail, you submit it to the IEC. Yes, instead of IEC, you type it HEC, and day which is declared as a holiday. So, because this IEC separate mail will be there, in this case, it should be holiday. So, even in case of holiday also, the member secretary should aware of this trial is undergoing. Even if it is not reply from the mail, you can call, because you should have the, because any investigator or co-investigator should have the contact number of the member secretary. If it is no response from the mail, you can contact through other communication device. Is compensation class in this ICF informed consent must involving comparative trials of already approved drugs in the academic study in a medical college? Yes. So here the questions arises in case of academic clinical trial. In that case, is there any compensation? Because there is no sponsor here. Correct. Because in that condition, so ethics committee will take the decision, because he has the given permission for conducting academic clinical trials, means clinical trial in the research. So here, that's why in these cases, legal issues are solved by the lawyer. And also he will conduct a meeting, and with the discussion from chairperson to the lay person, so they will discuss the compensation in case of comparative trials or already approved drugs in the academic study in a medical college. Very good question. Please explain quadruple blinding. Yes, quadruple blinding, one is participants, okay, investigator, and care providers, those who are involved in the clinical trial, and even the sponsors, there also doesn't know. Okay, but one of the primary investigator which is related to the clinical trial, he knows. Except him, all are blind. That is called quadruple blinding. Okay. Can member secretary play a dual role in meeting? Dual role, that is as a member secretary, that is the common. Other dual role, please, you can text me a proper message. What is the other role you are expecting? Means like principal investigator, you should not. Regarding post-trial access, this is the marketed expensive new drug still available for the trial patient for free. Yes, actually the trial in post-trial access, the new drug which is not approved, so it should be based on the ethics committee approval. It is only for the trial patient. It is not in the market. If member secretary Shakti Prasad, if member secretary can't be principal investigator or co-investigator, then how will he or she do research work for publication? Actually, he should have previous experience of related to clinical research, not only to the clinical trial and all, but she can involve in the clinical trials of some other, not related to that, because she has to maintain the confidentiality detail. If she becomes the main principal or co-investigator, she or he may modify the results without knowing any other, without discussing with anyone. She can, that time the clinical trial results may be vary. That time it will be affect the finally the population. That's why the member secretary should not become principal investigator or co-investigator. There is no conflict of interest occurs, because she may get some amount of financial support from the sponsor or drug developer, and even because of that she may modify the result. That is the one of the possibility will be there. Thank you, madam. And is audio-visual recording mandatory for academic clinical trial? So for clinical trial is definitely mandatory. For academic clinical trial, anyway, you are already published for new indication is going on. So it is not mandatory audio-visual. Even in the informed consent form is more than enough. It is available. You have plenty of time and audio-visual recording facilities available. You can do that. Is there any additional educational qualification recommended for ethics committee members? Actually, according to the new drugs clinical trials, there is no changes in the education qualification of ethics committee members from chairperson to layperson. Even chairperson from the well-respective qualification, and if as the member in the previous institution as a chairperson, or if he worked in the ethics committee in any other institution, it is more sufficient. What is the duration of ethics committee before reconstituting the next? So that is, once you get the validity, it is the duration for 5 years. 5 years. For any change in the member, you have to submit the that is previous member resignation letter, new member CV, etc. all the through Sugam portal. This session was informative. Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you, madam. And as a pharmacologist, Ritesh, there is an option for alternative member secretary in the DHR guidelines. Alternative member secretary can conduct the meeting. The original member secretary can be principal investigator. Yes, in this condition, yes, in biomedical and ethical research related to that, there is a possibility, madam. Ritesh Singh, yes. Yes, sir. According to that, related to biomedical research, there will be option of alternative member secretary according to the Department of Health and Research guidelines. There you can conduct the meeting. The original member secretary can become principal investigator. Correct, correct. Not in clinical trials related to the chapter number 3. Thank you, Dhanlakshmi madam. The session is very informative. And Reena madam, thank you. And dual role, yes sir, dual role as a member secretary and a pharmacologist. I got now the question is very clear, sir. Definitely, sir, because even pharmacologist in our institution only, our madam, she is the pharmacologist from our institution. She is the member secretary. Member secretary from any department, but for the benefit or as we are undergoing GCP guidelines and we know that clinical trial BAB study, because of that, if the member secretary from the Department of Pharmacology is very well appreciated, because he knows what is the clinical trial, phases, BAB study, center, and what are the clinical forms. And we are pharmacologists because we are involved in drug development process. Daily we are updating new drug. So that is the purpose. Member secretary from pharmacology department means it is well appreciated. Yes, sir. Now there is no questions. Raghu, sir.
I think there is one more question beside the chat box. There is one. Yeah, click there.
Activities.
Yeah, there I think QA is there. Yeah, question and answer. Down. Yeah.
Transcript, sir.
No. Question and answer. Yeah.
Give everyone.
Yeah.
If dissertation proposals are okay, sir, from question from Saraswati madam. If dissertation proposals are done using already drugs which have already been in use, do the postgraduate need to register it as clinical trials? No. So because here dissertation proposals, because we are doing you are taking the comparative trials. Okay, in this condition, so as a postgraduate, okay, you should not register under Clinical Trial Registry of India, because clinical trials, the dissertation proposals should not come under this clinical trial register. Okay, any new modification and all, when you are submitting this drug, your protocol for a related to dissertation protocol or anything, okay, and at that time, ethics committee, in this ethics committee meeting, all the ethics committee members from chairperson, member secretary, clinician, and everyone, they will give the suggestion. Your dissertation proposal, it is for your academic research purpose, which is already been in the use, so it should not comes under clinical trial, because any changes in the new dose, new indication, or new drug delivery system, then you have to take the permission from ethics committee, and you can publish the results, not only for what is the academic purpose. That's why it's called slowly for academic purpose, not for marketing or any other commercial purpose. So clinical trials, obviously, their sponsor will put so many amount. In that condition, the principal investigator and all the team has to go several steps. Then they will submit. Based on that, they will get the permission from Central Licensing Authority. Then it will enter for the marketing. That's why. So postgraduate dissertation proposals should not, it not comes under to register as a clinical trials. Thank you, Saraswati Madam.
So any other questions?
Present sir's email, Dr. Shakti Prasad.
Yeah, it will be shared. It will be shared.
We will be share it, sir. Dr. Raghu sir will be share it.
Okay, fine. I think it's the end of the session. Hope everyone enjoyed. And yes, next, actually, we are planning for an antibiotic stewardship program where we'll be giving a certificate course. So till now, we were providing the course certificate as a participant. So now we are providing a certificate course, short-term certificate course in antibiotic stewardship. We're planning for that, and you'll get notified regarding that very shortly. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Raghu sir, and thank you for all the participants for your patient listening. Okay, sir. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you all. Have a good day. We'll wind up for today.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.